Ladies and gentlemen, this is finally the day when we come back with another big picture overview for 2023. It is a little bit late since it's already July, but it is how it is, and not so many things have changed in big picture since the previous overview, and only the last changes in the big picture new versions pushed us to create a new video for 2023 for this amazing project management and portfolio management tool for the Atlassian ecosystem, for Jira specifically. So if you're looking for a tool that will help you in your project management processes, activities, control of everything that is happening in your projects, portfolios, programs, then this video will be very interesting to you. It's a quite complicated tool. It has lots to offer. So today in this video, I will be going through everything that will be important from the view of benefits and how this tool can be applied to enhance your project management experiences in the Jira ecosystem. And I can tell you that this is, at this point in time, the most advanced and most useful project management tool. It covers a lot of different areas, and despite it being a little bit big and maybe not that super easy to implement, it's definitely worth the effort. If you will be looking for any kinds of services surrounding Big Picture or any other project management tools in the Atlassian ecosystem, reach out to us. We have been working with this tool almost from the very beginning. We love it. We have lots of experience with it, and we still work with it day to day in providing, first of all, implementation support. Second of all, often during the implementation training services. We are the only partner in the world that has a dedicated video training for this amazing tool. And if you want to work with the best, then definitely we are the right people to talk with. The contacts are in the description of this video or somewhere on the screen. So just drop us a note and we will schedule a free meeting to talk about how we can help you reach for your project management goals inside the Atlassian ecosystem. And now, talking about those goals and the benefits that in general Big Picture brings to the Atlassian ecosystem, let me start with this. So first of all, in our opinion, Jira is an amazing tool for process management. It's a pretty good tool for project management, but not great. And that depends on how you plan to work with your projects. If you're purely agile, Jira will be pretty good for you because from the agile perspective, it does a really good job. But very often, the companies that reach out to us for help, they don't work purely agile. They work either waterfall or more often hybrid. So a little bit agile, a little bit waterfall. And this is where some enhancements to the Jira environment in general are needed. And Big Picture is one of those enhancements that you can apply to the system. Now, what Big Picture will give you is that it puts another layer of functionalities on top of Jira. So let's say that this is your Jira, and then on top of Jira, you put another layer of functionalities, project management functionalities, like a professional Gantt chart, like a possibility to manage your projects, programs, and portfolios in a folder-like structure to create a hierarchy of them and be able to roll up the data from the bottom to the top, for example. Like board management for multiple teams, if some of those teams, for example, are working agile, or maybe all of the teams. Like risk management, like resource management, very important. And apart from that, you also have additional views like calendar view, for example. You are able to manage your project teams. You're able to manage your holidays for your employees, holiday plans, workload plans, absences. And on top of this, you also have the reporting module that will allow you to extract some additional beneficial data from your project management activities. So we will go through all of those functionalities in this video step by step. I won't be spending too much time on each of them because I don't want this video to be super long, but I will make sure to mention all of the most interesting and most beneficial applications of those modules and the functionalities that we will find inside. So let me start with this. Since Big Picture is staying on top of Jira and it's working with Jira data, so it doesn't create its own data with very few exceptions, but most of the time it's working with Jira data. What you actually are getting thanks to this, and something that I absolutely love, um, not only from Big Picture, but any other project management tools in the Atlassian ecosystem as well, is that anytime you work like this, you get something that I like to call instant reporting. So that means that anytime someone creates a project plan, let's say over here in Big Picture, and in this plan you have your project tasks, you have a beautiful work breakdown structure, you have some estimates for those plans. And then each and every element that you can see over here in this Gantt chart, this element can be assigned to a person, because essentially this is what you will have to do in the end. And this person is also a Jira user. So this person is working on the same element, same Jira issue over here. And if this person makes any kind of update on the issue, logs time, changes the status, puts a comment in, right? You are getting notified. And your project plan over here is getting updated all the time. So you will create this project plan, you will assign this to people, and you will come back the next day to see that something has changed and some progress has been reported, and you can immediately see it. You don't have to wait for the status meeting that will happen next week. You don't have to go and ask people, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Which many people actually hate and feel like this is a micromanagement and not something that they want to be exposed to. No, what you get over here is immediate feedback from those people, which is absolutely amazing. I personally love it so much, right? So that's something that you definitely need to be aware of. That does not concern only Big Picture. It's true for all the project management tools in the Atlassian ecosystem, but it's also true for Big Picture, and it's absolutely amazing. All right, so now let's take a look at the home screen of Big Picture. So I'll go to home with this, and I'll show you this screen, which is like a starting screen of Big Picture. So what you will see over here are entries, and those entries will represent different things depending on what the author had in mind. These entries, they are called in Big Picture nomenclature boxes, and those boxes can represent projects, programs, portfolios, or even inside the project you can break project into smaller pieces and use those boxes to represent, for example, phases of the project, some iterations, some other elements that will break projects into smaller pieces, like quarters, teams, for example, even. So depending on what the box is designed to do over here, it will represent a different set of data, so to say. And you also can use templates over here. So for those of you that think, okay, how will I handle this? There are templates, and during the implementation process, we help you create those templates as well, so that the user adoption and then later on usage of the tool itself is as smooth as necessary as possible, really. So everything that you can see over here are boxes. And as you can see, I can expand my boxes. For example, my demo box, which is supposed to be a project, can be expanded. And you will see a breakdown of my demo box into product increments or program increments. And then you can expand those, and you can see that I have some phases over here. In a PI2, I have some iterations, right? And so on and so on. So you can build an unlimited levels of hierarchy over here. So whatever you feel like doing, it's possible. If you want to see an example of the portfolio, for example, here is the one, right? I have a, well, where did it go? There you go, portfolio aggregations only, right? So I have a portfolio that can be broken down into 3 different projects. Each of those projects then can be broken down into smaller elements as well, like sprints, for example, over here. So this starting screen allows you to see the overall view of whatever is happening in your organization. If it's a list of projects, it will be a list of projects. If it's maybe a list of portfolios that can be drilled down into programs and then into projects, then that's what it's going to be. If you're not using programs under a portfolio, but you're using programs and then portfolio underneath the programs, which happens sometimes, it will also be possible and visible over here. So it's just a starting screen that will present you with some of the aggregated data from insides of those projects, programs, portfolios, whatever you have over here, like progress in terms of time tracking, like some summaries of time spent, original estimates, remaining estimates. You can even use some custom fields over here that will display some additional information that you want to store on the level of the box. For example, simple approach to budgeting can also be addressed with those, which is really, really cool as well. Anyway, this is the starting screen. This is where you come to take an overview, and this is where you can navigate to screens that will give you more details. So let's visit this box. I'll just click on it and it will take me immediately to the default module of the box itself. And the default module for this box is the Gantt chart. So that's why I land on the Gantt chart. But what we will actually do is we will take a step back from the Gantt chart to the overview module. And then we will go through all of them, not necessarily in the order that is displayed over here. So I will actually approach this from the waterfall perspective first, and then we'll skip to the agile perspective, and then we will address everything else. So the overview module is very similar to the home screen that we've seen before, but this one is starting from the box that I've clicked at, so Big Picture Free Course box, which is also displayed over here. And then whatever is inside, whatever other boxes I have underneath this, will be displayed over here. So that's like an overview of the element that we are looking at right now. And we are looking at right now at this element, so whatever is inside this will be displayed over here. If this element would be empty, then also we would not have any entries over here in the overview. But in general, in terms of functionalities, this is almost exactly the same as the home screen. You can add new boxes over here, you can delete the existing boxes, you can work with those custom fields on the level of boxes, and you can read, of course, the aggregated data on the level of every box. That's what this module is good for. So now let's move back to the Gantt chart and let's talk a little bit about the Gantt module, which is the most advanced in terms of the number of functionalities module inside a big picture. So a lot of effort went into this one and a lot of things can be done inside. Of course, with no surprises, you get a standard Gantt-like view. So we have a table-like view on the left side, Gantt chart on the right side. All the data over here that you can see is coming from Jira, with an exception of if you want to create a basic task. This one will actually be visible only inside Big Picture, which is actually pretty cool, because if you want to play around with some ideas and you don't want this to go straight into Jira so that people get notified or you create a little bit of a mess over there, then you can work with those basic tasks over here. Though they will appear in the Gantt chart, you will be able to put dependencies between them. So then you can play around with some ideas, and then if you like it, then you can transform this into Jira issues. If you don't like it, you can just get rid of them and start over, or just discard the idea altogether. So that's a pretty good thing. Another interesting fact over here is that you can work with different views in the table side left side. So the views are switchable over here. They are, of course, fully customizable, fully configurable, so you can create your own views with whatever fields from Jira you want. So all of the fields can be displayed over here. Now, most of the fields will be inline editable, which is awesome as well. So if I want to change the status of this one, I can just double click this and I can inline edit it. If I want to change the assignee, I can double click this and inline edit. Text fields, numerical fields, all of those, estimate fields as well, all of those will be editable, inline editable over here, which, believe me, makes the grooming of the data so much faster than from the Jira perspective. It hasn't been like this for many years. And actually, in the previous overview of Big Picture recorded in 2022, this wasn't the case yet. Some of the fields were inline editable back then, if I remember, but I think only text fields and only numerical fields. Now we have so many more fields editable, even label-like fields. So that this has become a tremendously helpful feature that actually now helps us to groom the data and edit stuff, update stuff very, very quickly. We don't have to open each issue in a new browser window and change the data over there. We can actually inline edit everything from over here. So as long as you have the right view that displays the right columns, it's super, super easy. Now, in terms of the Gantt chart, you basically have everything that is necessary over here. So you have the possibility to aggregate the data into parent and children. You have the dependencies, and of course, those dependencies are intelligent. So if I move this task forward, then this task will be pushed forward as well because the dependency forces it to move forward. You are able to lock those tasks in place if you don't want them to move. You are able to use different modes that will allow you to be a little bit more intelligent in regards to which elements can move which elements, right? So all of these automatic functions are available over here. Other elements that will be important over here or crucial from the perspective of some of you will be, for example, baselines. Baseline is available in BigPicture as well. Milestones, you will be able to display milestones over here. I have one here, right? So milestones are displayable as well. Let me see what else will be interesting. Progress information. So you can turn on the progress and you can see immediately on the bar what is the progress of every individual task. You can enable period warnings if you want, but as you can see, I don't have any. So currently my project plan is pretty clean, but I can enable the overdue, and this will show you that my project plan is actually not that great. It is a pretty old one, so you can see that almost everything is late, except for those tasks at the bottom. They are not late because they are in green, which means that they are done. So we are all good with those three. But the others are late, and you get an indication in red that they are late, the number of days they are late, and so on. So lots of interesting features already available just from the view. Now, going back to this one, I mentioned baselines, but I didn't mention task grouping. This is an amazing feature that will help you to reshuffle the data with just a few clicks and look at it from a completely different perspective. So imagine that, for example, you have a project plan with work breakdown structure, but now you want to see, okay, I want to see how many tasks are assigned to different people from my team. So you can group the data by the assignee, for example, and then you will see immediately that I have 16 tasks assigned to me. Yaro has 4 tasks assigned to him. So maybe there is an imbalance over here and we can balance it differently. Or maybe this is how it has to be because we play different roles in the project, right? So grouping, an amazing feature, definitely worth using. Some configurations regarding the taskbar dependencies, I've mentioned that. There is a panel regarding the resources, which gives you a simplified resource management capabilities over here. But I will actually talk about resources later when we will get to the resources module, which has all of those options and a lot more over there as well. And then, of course, you have lots of filtering. You have lots of possibilities to steer how you look at the data. And one thing that I definitely also want to mention before I leave Gantt chart is that there are also scenarios over here. So I'm looking currently at the live scenario, but I can also switch to an alternative scenario, which is kind of not live, where I can again play around with my data, shuffle things around, see, for example, what would happen if I would move this item a little bit forward or a little bit backwards. And after the changes have been done, I can decide whether I want to apply the changes to the live scenario or discard the changes, or maybe leave it as it is for some additional plays later in the future. So that's absolutely an interesting feature to be talking about as well. Info bar on the right side, also an interesting feature that helps you find and identify some elements or issues in your project plan, like tasks connected with specific dependencies, overdue issues similar to what I've shown before, milestones, critical path items, so the items belonging to the critical path, And also there is a change history available over here because, by the way, if you make any changes over here, you can undo the change with the button over here. So that's also something that has been added not so long ago and is pretty amazing. So all in all, as you can see, the Gantt module of Big Picture has everything you need to work with the waterfall-like approach. But of course, this kind of approach is very often connected also with resource management. So let me get to resource module over here. Now, in the resource module, we are able to manage our people inside teams, or we are also able to manage our teams. So this view is a little bit cluttered with data. Let me clean it up a little bit. So I'll do it like this, and that should do it for now. So now it's a little bit more simplified. Actually, let me also change the aggregation to daily like this. And now this view should be pretty simple. So you can basically see a person on the left. You can see a bar or a rectangle for each day with number of hours that are allocated to the person. And you can also see the tasks that the person is working on. And if I move back or forward in time, I will encounter more interesting areas of my project, like this one, where you can see that there are a lot more tasks assigned to myself. We see already some additional coloring over here. So we can see, for example, that here I am overloaded. Yellow means that I am somewhere almost full in terms of my capacity. And green, of course, means that the person is okay and more tasks can be assigned to the person. Clicking on each one of those, you can get all the valuable information regarding where the numbers are coming from, which elements contribute to those numbers, in what regard. And of course, clicking on the tasks over here, you can also inline edit lots of interesting information like start and end date, the person assigned to the task. Even estimates are editable over here. So lots of cool functionalities. On top of this, of course, you can also manage the data over here by just dragging and dropping, by grabbing the edges of the task and stretching them or expanding them. So all of the features really necessary to make sure that your resource management is on top of the game over here are available. On top of this all, you can also switch from the individual view to the team view. So you can manage your teams over here. If you have teams in your project working on the project, several of them, then it may also be a smart idea to start the assignment of the tasks inside your work breakdown structure from the team perspective, and then assign them to individual users if you even are planning to get to that low level of task assignment. So the view is the same basically, but it's focused on teams, not individuals. And you can, of course, see that the numbers here are a little bit bigger because based on the team members, the capacity of the team will also be bigger. Some of the things that are configurable over here are different views, like effort mode, starting from original estimate to remaining estimate to even story points. So if you're working with story points, even story point resource management or story point based resource management can be done over here. Not a huge fan personally of this, because I feel like this is a wrong way of working with story points, because if you're working with story points, you should be working agile, and this view is not agile. This is individual or team-based project management, but agile team project, resource management is different than what we have over here. So it's done for those of you that are working in a little bit of a strange environment, which is sometimes just what it is, and there is nothing can be done about it. So if you have no choice, absolutely this feature is over there to use it. By the way, all of the modules, almost all of the modules have the export button, which can also be used to export data into Excel, PDF, and some other formats sometimes as well, which can be helpful in many cases. And the export module requires the big template app for your Jira as well, so it will not work if you don't have the big template app. Cool. So this is the resources module. Of course, on top of the resources module, you will also be working with teams, because if you want to work with this view where teams are visible, you have to configure those teams earlier. So there's a separate module for team configuration, which is not super complicated, but very, very useful. So it allows you to create teams, assign people to those teams. You can control the percentage of the assignment of an individual to the team. So for example, if the person is working for several teams at the same time, totally doable. You will get warnings if the person is over allocated in those teams. Um, and of course, to top it off, you will also be able in the administration of your resources to schedule your workload plans, holiday plans, skills that those individuals have, because skill-based planning is also available in the resources module. So those things will also work. There are also absences available, and those absences can be globally recorded by a person that is managing resources or a group of people that are managing resources. And of course, it is also possible to allow individuals to record their absences by themselves. So depending on the style of your work, both of those might be important to know and use sometimes. Cool. So these are the resources. Moving on, resources teams. Another thing that will be connected with, a little bit connected with the waterfall approach, is risk management. But of course, you can also use risk management module for agile approaches. Why not? So the risk management will display, will show you a view of all the risks recording for your project in the either matrix-like fashion or a table-like fashion. So I can switch between one and the other, and you can see that I don't have a lot of data over here. But let me switch to a different box. And as you can see, this module is a lot better in terms of data. All of the tickets that are visible over here are again Jira issues, right? They are risks recorded as Jira issues. So they can have different set of data in them. So you can design your own Jira issue type that will represent the risk, for example, which I would recommend to do. And then you can record the data pretty freely in terms of whatever needs to be added to those elements in terms of the information that has to be recorded as risk. And then you can display them over here. As you can see, multiple cells of the matrix can have, single cell of the matrix can have multiple Jira issues assigned to it. You can use the drag and drop feature just to reassign the consequence and probability of the issue very, very easily. You can control which information is displayed on those cards just by switching to different views. And you can also enable the mode that will highlight those elements that are more risky than the others. So depending on how you want to work with this, it's almost fully customizable. Even the values over here of consequence and probability are editable. So if you want to work not with 5, as you can see over here, but with 3 or maybe 7, it's doable. If you just want to change the names, it's doable as well. So a lot of customization that can be done over here. And in general, this module of BigPicture will help you manage the risks in your project, will be a wonderful input for your risk review meetings that you will probably be conducting once in a while. So all in all, a very useful module to be using while working with BigPicture. Another thing that we will just breeze through is the calendar view. So the calendar view will allow you to look at the data in a calendar-like fashion. So let me actually go back to the box that we were looking at earlier. And if we are able now to find the right month with some items, like this one, for example, then we are able to see how these elements could be displayed over here. And you can see clearly which elements are planned when, who is responsible for the element to be completed. So just a different view of your data that will maybe help you a little bit in the planning process. The next one that I want to go to is actually we will switch now to the agile approach. So in terms of the agile approach, the first interesting one is the scope module, which is, I very often like to repeat this, that this is like a left part of the Gantt chart. So you don't have the Gantt chart, you have this table-like view, and it takes the whole screen. And again, the columns that you can see over here, the view that you're looking at, these are customizable, so you can create your own view. And this module is absolutely awesome for grooming the data. So again, the inline editing will be available over here. So if you want to quickly go through everything that is inside the project and maybe update some stuff along the way, this will be very, very helpful. Of course, you can do the same thing on a Gantt view as well. But if you're working agile, why would you be looking at the Gantt view, right? You don't want that. So then the scope module will be a lot more useful to it. Although in terms of the functionalities that are available over here, it's like, I think almost everything is also doable from the Gantt module. So when you groom the data, when you groom your backlog, then you will probably want to plan elements on the board. And the board is a little bit more connected with the agile way of working, as you can see. So first of all, the timeline at the top will allow you to separate or break the project into smaller elements. Most of the time, these will be sprints or any kind of iterations, but you can have your own name for it. So basically, you define those. And then inside those elements, you can assign the issues from the right side, which is the backlog view, to the proper boxes on the left side with a simple drag and drop. So you can just grab the element and drop it over here. And all of those will be displayed in either team unassigned swim lane or team swim lane, specific team swim lane. So you can immediately assign those elements to the teams. So again, we're working agile team management, not individual management. And for every of those boxes, you will get some summaries. For every element that you displayed over here, you will have some fields that will tell you a little bit about the item itself. And again, this is customizable. So if you want to display different kind of information than what I have over here, I have summary, I have story points, I have an epic link if it's connected, and I also have the Jira sprint that this is assigned to. So as you can see, very important feature, this can be also synchronized with Jira sprints, which is an amazing thing, because if you're a project manager and you already have some agile teams working in Jira and using Jira sprints, maybe they don't want to necessarily be switching to a different view like big picture view over here. But maybe you want to as a project manager, because this one allows you to have multiple teams and multiple sprints on the same screen. So this is pretty cool. But those teams that these data will concern, they actually can stay in their Jira-like environment, Jira-like view, Jira-like sprints, and they will be totally fine because all the data is synchronized back and forth. Pretty cool. Yeah, of course, you can also see the dependencies over here. I have them collapsed, but I can expand the dependencies. And this is a very important thing over here because that allows you to quickly identify where potentially there are some risks connected with those dependencies. So this one, for example, is red, suggesting to me that maybe this task cannot be planned so far in the future. We have to complete it earlier, or maybe this one has to be moved somewhere to the future, right? So you will have those dependencies over here. Thanks to the fact that you have multiple teams on this screen, you will also be able to identify cross-team dependencies, which is also very important. What else is important over here before I move on? Well, you can also do the capacity planning. So I mentioned that agile-based team planning, team resource management is better done outside of the resources module if you're not working waterfall or hybrid. And this is the place where you would be doing this. So all the data will be available here in the board module rather than in the resources module if you want to work purely agile. Of course, you also have different views on the right side, so you look at the backlog, you can also look at the dependencies, you can also look at any kind of warnings that are identified in your project. And of course, if you go to the warning, you will be able to see what the warning is all about. So pretty much everything is already self-explanatory over here, so that the project manager doesn't have to be wondering what the hell is going on. You can see that tasks got nicely highlighted, and there is a dependency over here highlighted as well. So board module, I actually skipped the objectives module, but the objectives module again can be used in both approaches, so it doesn't really matter where I address it. This module, and let me try to switch to the demo box. It might have more data here. Not sure about it. There we go. Right, so this module, I like this one. I like this one very much because this one allows you to manage your teams by objectives, not by micromanagement, but by objectives. So I'm a huge fan of this because I prefer to give people the right direction, tell them this is where we are going. And now let's figure out together how to get there. So you give a little bit of autonomy to the people, you engage their creativity rather than micromanaging them every day, every hour. And this is where you can record those objectives. So you can have main objectives, you can have objectives for specific teams. As you can see at the top, you also can have those objectives assigned to specific time frames inside your project. So again, my demo box is divided into program increments. So if I assign objectives to my program increments, that's what they are going to be. And then if you can even drill down to the lower level of those boxes, and inside the program increment, I have a division into some phases or iterations over here, and I can even create objectives for individual iterations over here if I want to. By the way, this drill down option is also available on the board module, so you can plan for your higher level elements and your lower level elements. So if you're working with program increments and iterations or sprints underneath those, board module will also work with this. Some interesting facts regarding the objectives. You can move your objectives between one element, so one time box and another time box if they are not completed, for example, and you want to move them to the next phase. You can score those objectives with planned business value and later on with achieved business value, so that you can get some numbers out of this. And of course, they have some statuses that will allow you also to understand at the end of the time box. So in our case, it will be program increment. At the end of the program increment, I will be able to understand which objectives have been completed and which objectives haven't been completed, or maybe have been partially completed. So a very interesting module to work with. And if you're thinking about anything that is close to objective type management, OKRs maybe, then this is something that you should definitely take a look at. And now, I think the last one I will move to, I'm just scrolling through this to see, yeah, this is the last one we haven't visited yet. So the reports, and the reports module is, like the name suggests, a place where you can come for any kind of data aggregated visualizations of whatever is happening in your projects. And some of the default data, some of the default not data, but reports will be available to you over here out of the box. But then you also can have some other elements that you can create by yourself with the button over here. And if I scroll down, and now I have to click this plus, you can see that there are several types of reports that you can use over here. Some of them are actually only available with the extension of BigPicture called BigPicture Enterprise. But I'm not going to get into the details of this in this video. If you want to learn more about this, reach out to us and I'll be happy to tell you more about what is available in BigPicture, core BigPicture, what is available by installing also the BigPicture Enterprise extension of it. So all in all, reports and any kind of data available over here will definitely be very useful. But I also always like to mention that reporting module is not the only place where you actually get meaningful report-like data from BigPicture, because a lot of interesting information can actually be already visible inside these modules itself. So for example, in the Gantt module, when you apply the grouping, lots of interesting data can be gathered through this. In a board module, lots of interesting data can also be visible by the aggregations on top of every cell in that matrix that is available over there. So overview as well. So lots of different places where you can actually get the data out of BigPicture. Sometimes, if everything is not enough, we do work with additional reporting apps in the Jira environment to enhance whatever BigPicture allows you to do. You can also use dashboards, which is a Jira built-in feature and doesn't cost you anything. So lots of different things that you can do in terms of reporting. And we do realize that reporting is always very important when implementing such a tool. So we always start our implementation process with reporting in mind. By the way, talking about our implementation process, it is a very proven process. We have been doing it for more than 5 years now, and we have it figured out. So we know which steps need to happen from the beginning to the end to not only implement the tool in the right way and configure it in the right way, but also deliver the right kind of deliverables that will be so very useful on every step of the way while working with Big Picture, including the templates, including some policies that will tell the people how to use the tool, and also talking about that, including the training that the people need to go through so that the tool adoption is actually as high as possible, because we do realize that this is a change for the organization and every change invokes some resistance, and we want this resistance to be as small as possible, and we put a huge effort on this so that when you're implementing the tool, it actually ends in success. And so far, we do get a lot of positive feedback regarding the whole process and the success rate of it. So this is all in regards of Big Picture, an overview of Big Picture for 2023. I hope that this sparked your interest in the tool itself. As I mentioned earlier, this is not the only tool, so I'm not sure this is exactly the right that will be perfect fit for your requirements, your particular way of working with projects. But if you want to talk about this, then reach out to us and we will help you out. We provide consulting on different project management tools in the Atlassian ecosystem. We have training for those tools, implementation processes for them. So we will be happy to help you in this area. Again, all the contacts are in the description of this video or flying somewhere on the screen. So don't hesitate, drop us a note and let's take it from there. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.